Om Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vigno Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we are going to look today at this beautiful stotram. It's called Ardhanarishwara Stotram. It's attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. If you really look at it carefully, it's a beautiful, it has so many things, so many elements to it. There is, of course, the message of the scripture, what scriptures have to tell us. Then there is beauty of the language, samskrtam. It has poetry with beautiful metaphors. There is bhakti, the sentiment of devotion is there. It is a prayer at the same time. And not only that, it addresses some cultural expressions. We see how the knowledge, the philosophy pervades the whole culture, in our day-to-day activities, in our art forms. All of these things you can see in this particular stotram, So as the name goes, Ardhanarishwara, it is a prayer to Ishvara, to the Lord, in the form of, so God and Goddess both together, that particular form, So there is Nari, Ardhanari, So Ardhanari, he is Ishvaraha, half of whom is female. So half here is the vertically. So left half and a right half. The two halves of the body is portrayed. On the right side, it is male. On the left side, it is female. So the right side is Mahadeva, Lord Shiva. Then the left side is Parvati. So this is the particular form. A very unique form. And even if you see the form itself, carefully, so the male side, it is straight, the posture. It's called samaha. Samaha means straight. You suppose you stand straight and with the knees fully extended, and that particular posture is called as samaha in Natya Shastra. And then the left side of it, the female, it is so dvibhanga. Dvibhanga is there is a bend. There's a bend in the posture. So basically, it is when you're standing straight, but your knee is not fully extended. It is partially flexed. So an unlocked knee, little bit flex, there is a certain little tilt. So all those aspects you see in the form. And then there is, of course, the all the attire and so on, which are all described symbolically, representing many different things in this particular stotram. So thus we have is Ardhanarishwara, one form of in which the Ishvara Lord is invoked. Like that, there are similar forms, other forms also we have, like Harihara. There is Hari, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu together. So there is a Harihara form. There's also then other forms later on that are there. There's a temple in Chennai, which is called as Adyanta. So Adyanta form is there, that particular Vigraham. So Adi, the beginning and the end, has come later, born of the Bhakti movement. So there's certain sampradaya of Bhakti in the south, where the devotional music and all begins with, so all prayers begin with Sri Mahaganapati, end with Hanumanji. So he's the beginning and the end. That particular movement And so they have a temple for that. So like that, there are many different forms. There are other forms also like Narasimha, where it is little different. It's not two halves, but then the upper half and the lower half. The idea being gunas, it talks about guna. The form is only a form. What does the form tell me about a person? Really, even when you look at me, you see a physical form. What does the physical form tell about a person? Nothing. It doesn't really say anything except some kind of identification marks are there, biometrics. The biometrics is only about ID, physical ID. So that is a form. But then that's not all a person is. There are gunas are there, qualities are there, which you can't see perceptually. How do we represent them in art? So they used to represent them in many different ways. So this is one of the ways it gets represented. So anyway, so there are many Puranas that talk about Ardhanarishwara, like Shaivite Puranas, like Shiva Puranam, Linga Purana, and then Skanda Purana, and so on. They talk about the deity. And there are many legends and stories connected with it also. So, like some of it have to do with creation. So, Brahmaji, when Brahmaji create Ishvara, the infinite Lord, manifested as a creation, as a creator. In the role of a creator is called Brahmaji, Brahma. So he created, when he first created everything, so the beings were created from his mind, called Manasaputra. So he created these Manasaputras. And then these Manasaputras, being born of Brahma, so they were all ascetics. You know, they were ascetics. They have no desire to for progeny and things like that. They were all so jnanis and ascetic in their thinking. So he kind of hit a roadblock when it comes to, like a roadblock, it comes to creation. That time, so Lord Shiva manifests to him in the form of Ardhanarishwara. So this is one particular story. And so then the different type of creation later on. So the first creation was all from the mind, like you create a dream. So you dream about a person and then you dream the person and you interact with the person. Then later on, the creation is by procreation. So where there is always male and female aspects are there. So any continuation of creation that we see on earth, whether it is for humans, whether it is for animals, plants, whatever it is, so there's always this male and female aspect. They are inseparable, without which everything is stagnant. There is no creation. So for creation to continue and to remain and for it to be a process, these two elements are recognized. They both have equal importance. They are inseparable from each other. And so those are the kinds of things that this particular form represents of Ishvara. So you invoke Ishvara in this particular form. Also, there are temples like Tiruvannamalai where, so that there are Sthala Puranas that are associated with the story that have to do with Ardhanarishwara. And so where there the story there goes that Parvati had to go, she performed a lot of penance to, again, sometimes devas, things happen and they end up on earth. Then there's another form of being one with the Lord. So for a human being and for a purushas, for manushas, when you take a form which is limited, then the way to gain oneness with Bhagavan is through tapas, through penance. And so that is what is revealed. So she goes there and does penance, she's separated from him, and then she becomes inseparable. And that is part of that, the legend associated with the Tiruvannamalai temple. So, like that, there are many legends are talked about with Ardhanarishwara. So, let's look at this particular stotram. Number 1. Champeya Gaurardha Sharirakayai Karpura Gaurardha Sharirakaya Dhammillakayai cha Jatadharaya Namah Shivayai cha Namah Shivaya. Okay. So, Shiva is Lord Shiva, Mahadeva, and Shiva is Parvati. It's the same word. So the masculine is Shivaha, a ending masculine. So Shivaha is called the same in the feminine form of that same particular word is it will be A instead of Shivaha Visarga, it will be Shiva, the feminine form. A ending, E ending, these are feminine forms. So Parvati Devi is called as Shiva, Lord Mahadeva, Shankara is called as Shiva. So, and unto Shiva, both of them. Shivaya means to Lord Shiva is the fourth case, and Shivayai in female, feminine fourth case is Shivayai, like Lakshmiyai. So that particular ending. So thus here the common line in all the verses is Namah Shivayai cha Namah Shivaya. So my salutations, my namaha to goddess Shiva, Parvati, and to Lord Shiva. So that is how every verse ends. Here in the first one, so the particular form is described, the complexion of this form of Ardhanarishwara. Champeya Gaurardha Sharira Kayai. Kaya is Shariram. So Ardha Shariram, the half, this is the form of Bhagavan. And half of it is what? Is it Champeya Gauram? It is, so it's a champa, champa flower. It is yellowish white or white and yellow. That kind of a shade is there. Golden, kind of a golden yellow. So he says this half of the form of the Lord is golden yellow in complexion. Okay. Bright in its brightness. Okay. And Karpura Gaurardha Sharira Kaya. So unto that half, so unto this half, which is of a bright golden hue, and unto this half, which is so the white in complexion. It is white. It is white because of ashes. So when Bhagavan is the Shiva aspect of it is decorated, they will decorate it with ashes. So he says this half is white because of the ashes that he wears, and then this half is golden in color. Unto these two, not only that, Dhammillakayai. This half is the one, she's the one who, this describes the hairdo. She wears the hair. Dhammil is, so when it is braided and wound around, okay. So in the form of a bun-like thing. So this is a braided hair. And this for Lord Shiva, what is it? It is jata. It is in the form of a jata. Jata is matted hair. Okay, so matted hair, which is also wound up on the head. So this half of the head is, the hair is a lot of symbolism. In many cultures, hair stands for, so here when it is braided, it is in order. It is organized. It is balanced. Whereas jara is unruly. Jata is the matted hair, because you don't take care of it, you don't do anything, you don't comb it, you don't braid it, you don't do, you just let it run loose, it gets tangled up. So that chaos, it is chaotic and tangled. But that is the nature, because it represents samhara, it represents disorder, it represents time, it represents destruction. That is the nature of this. But at the same time, it is wound up around his head. So it is under control. It is controlled chaos when it comes to Lord Shiva. When it comes to Lord Parvati, so because she represents creation, and so she's Srishti. That will come later on. But then, because of that, he says it is much more in order. And so that is the nature of creation. Okay. So then she's the one, this is the form that is described. Unto Lord Shiva, who is of this complexion, goddess Shiva, who wears her hair in this particular form, is my salutation. And to the Lord Shiva, who again is in this particular form, is my namaskaram. Kasturika kumkuma charchitayai chitarajah punja vicharchitaya kritasmarayai vikritasmaraya namah shivayai cha namah shivaya. Kasturika kumkuma charchitayai. She is worshipped, Archanam, So she is worshipped. How is she worshipped? With Kasturika Kumkumam. Kasturi, Kumkumam we all know, everybody knows. Kasturi is it's a fragrance actually. It's a musk-like fragrance. So this is there is a particular plant. It's like a turmeric plant, but it's a non-edible, yellowish in color. And when you mix that with lime, it becomes red. And so that is what they make this kumkumam out of. Is an ingredient in kumkumam, and it has a musk-like fragrance. Okay, so this kasturika kumkumam. So this is the one that she is worshipped with. She is worshipped with. This kumkumam is an important part of our tradition. In all the different sampradayas, they put this. We put this on. So Vaishnava Sampradayas also they put it. So in the form of this line, which is put around the what is called as the pundra, urdhva pundram, the white U-shaped mark that they put on the head that represents the feet of the Lord of Narayana, and this one represents Shri Lakshmi, Shri Churmam, so that the both together, so they put that. Shaiva tradition also they put. So they put the three horizontal lines representing many different things. So representing the sharirams, the states, the three states, and so on. And so the kumkumam in the middle of that they put. In Shakta traditions, of course, they put this kumkumam. So like that, it's a part of, Abhishekam they use, in Archana they use. So Kumkum is an important part of our prayers and rituals. Not only that, what about Lord Shiva? He says, Chita Rajaf Punja Vicharchitaya. Chita. Chita is a fire. So he is worshipped with the ashes. What kind of ashes? These are the ashes that are collected from a heap of a funeral pyre. Normally we don't use this like this. Routinely, everybody doesn't use this, but perhaps some extreme forms they pick up. But keep in mind, it's basically ashes. Okay, the whole pyre full of it is the remnants. It represents the end of everything, samhara. So the ultimate of remnant of destruction is in the form of ashes, and that is what essentially we all are, or we all end up. You know so, and Lord Shiva represents the end. He's the Samhara Karta. He's the God that is the deity connected to all destruction, all resolution. That is one aspect of him. So he says, and he is always worshipped with ashes. Yeah. Abhishekam they use ashes. Application they use ashes. So this vibhuti, what they call as vibhuti. So he says that is what it symbolizes. Also symbolizes papam. So in it is in culturally the ashes also stand for papa. So it is getting rid of all the destruction. Is not just destruction of the created world. Destruction also is destruction in terms of ignorance. That is why he has jnana chakshu. So the destruction of ignorance also is part of that kind of destruction, which is what helps me become one with Bhagavan. So he represents both. So Lord Shiva is not all about samhara, but he is also about transcendence, and about that's why he's meditating all the time. So he represents asceticism. He represents overcoming all the senses and the limitations, and also represents overcoming the ignorance. All of that go with him. Kritasmarayai, smaranam, kritam, kriti and vikriti says. Kritasmarayai, Vikrita Smaraya, the one who I meditate upon as what? Smaranam is remembering or meditating upon. So here, as Kriti and Vikriti, the word Kriti represents Prakriti. Really speaking, it stands for Prakriti. And Vikriti, so represents change. Prakriti represents creation and balance. Okay. So that is what in this Sankhya Yoga, in this tradition, they talk of Prakriti and Purusha. So the whole manifest world is sustained by Prakriti Purusha. Purusha is the one that is the basis of everything. Prakriti is the creative power, you know. It is a Shakti. So Adi Shakti, Parashakti, she is Prakriti, really speaking. She is like, you know, it's a power is a potential. Potential you don't see. Potential you only see when it manifests. Okay. It's like current in a wire. You don't see it. You don't even know whether it is there or not. But if you don't, you can't say, oh, well, it's not there. I don't see anything. Well, you touch it and you'll see. When it manifests in activity, whether it is in the form of light or the movement or in the form of heat, whatever it may be, when Prakriti manifests, there's a one form of Prakriti is manifest. The other form is unmanifest. So this, the capacity for something to be manifest is called potential. Like a seed, the potential of a tree in a seed. So that is prakritam, it is natural, it is there, you know, and then it manifests itself. So Prakriti is that which is responsible for, that is the potential, and that is what becomes manifest in the form of different characteristics, in the form of different gunas, different qualities that one can experience. So all these gunas, Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, all those things go along with Prakriti when it is manifest. Like, like the current manifesting in different kinds of appliances. Okay. So that is Kriti, Prakriti. So she's of that nature. And what about him? He represents Kala, Vikriti, change, movement. That's why he's dancing. Look at the Nataraja behind. So that is what represents the constant movement and also represents the final end in terms of Samhara. He is the source of change. He is the source of the resolution of death. He is the source of fear and all those kinds of things. So he says, Kritasma, I meditate upon this Shiva, Lord Goddess Parvati, as the one who is the source of all creation, of manifestation. And I meditate upon him, Lord Shiva, as the one who's the source of all change, of Kala. So Kala Agni Rudraya, he's in the form of Kala. He's also in the form of one who transcends time. So I worship him in this particular, I worship this Ardhanarishwara in this twofold functions, in twofold forms. 3. Jalat Kwanat Kankananu Purayai Padabjarajat Phaninu Puraya Hemangadayai Bhujagangadaya Namah Shivayai Cha Namah Shivaya. Jalat Kwanat Kankananu Purayai. Unto the one, my salutations. Unto Shiva and Goddess Shiva and Goddess on God, Sri Lord Shiva. Shiva. And what? Who are of this form? What? She is the one. If you look at the form. So she wears all these ornaments, you know. Ornaments are like bracelets, you know, kankanam. Nupura is anklets. So Hemangas, the one, the armlets. So different ornaments are worn for the form. If you see closely, and then in that, what are these kinds of ornaments? These are the ornaments that make sounds. They tinkle. They tinkle and make sounds when she moves around. When she moves around. And he says they are hemangas. The hema. They are like made of gold. So she wears ornaments, bracelets, armlets, anklets, etc., that tinkle when they move, that are made of gold. What about Lord Shiva? He says, his ornaments, he also wears ornaments. He wears anklets and bracelets and armlets. And then what about them? So they are made of, they are the pani. Pani is a snake. So he wears snakes as ornaments around his body. She wears gold as ornaments around her body. These are their adornments. So snakes represents again Kala, time. You know, time is the one, the most fears. Snake is a fearsome thing. So everybody's afraid of snake. So if you're not afraid of snake, just tell them it's poisonous. Because as long as if you don't know which is a poisonous snake, then you're afraid of all the snakes. So anyway, because snake inspire fear, you know, and nothing inspires fear in a human being as time. You know, so time is the one cannot control. You know, and it gets you, and it gets you everybody eventually. You not only eventually, all the time, all the time gets us. Okay, we don't notice it for a while. Afterwards, we start noticing it. Okay, so here he wears coils around. When he wears coils this time, he's the one for whom time is not a source of fear. He is the one for whom time is an adornment. Time is an ornament because he is someone who has conquered time. He has Vasuki around his neck. Vasuki Kantabhushanam, he says. Vahanam Rishabho Yasya Vasuki Kantabhushanam Vame Shaktidharam Nityam Devam Vakaraya Namo Namaha. So, Shadakshari Stotram. So, Lord Shiva, it says Om Namah Shivaya. On that, these verses are there. This is the one whose Vahanam is Rishabha. Nandi, bull, is his Vahanam. Then Vasuki is the Kantabhushanam. He is Abhushanam. He is an ornament that is around his neck. Vasuki in 3 coils. 3 times he's coiled around, representing Kala, time past, present, and future. So, and Shiva is the one for who has conquered it. He transcends Trikalagni Kalaya, Kalagni Rudraya, so Neelakantaya, etc. He's the one who transcends all time. He's the one who has conquered time. He's the one for whom time is a ornament. And so that is his beauty. Unto that, unto both of them is my namaskaram, my salutations, my prostrations. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. 4. Vishala Nilotpalalochanayai Vikasi Pankeruhalochanaya Samekshanayai Vishamekshanaye Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya. Vishala Nilotpala Lochanayai. Lochana, it's eyes. The one goddess Devi Parvati, her eyes are big, beautiful, like a Vishal lotus, like a blue lotus. And the lotus, you're not open lotus, a bud. If you think of a bud, a lotus bud, and what is the shape of that bud? And that is the shape of her eyes. Vikasi Pankeruha Lochanaya. What about Lord Shiva's eyes? What about Lord Shiva's eyes? He says his eyes are so something unique about his eye. It's a blossoming, it's an opening eye. It's a lotus, it's also like a lotus, but it's a lotus that is blossoming, beginning to blossom, beginning to open. You're referring to this eye, the third eye there. Samekshanayai. Her eyes are sama. Sama is so even. Vishama is odd. So her eyes are even in number. Okay, even in there are two. So Parvati always shows me two eyes. Whereas for him it is three eye. He has the third eye. Okay. So it's odd number. So Lord Shiva is associated with three eyes. She is associated with two eyes. Okay. So that is indicated in this particular murti, because the third eye is only half of it you will see. So the third eye is the important eye. It's a special eye, he says. That is the eye of wisdom. That is Jnana Chakshu. You know, eyes, Bhagavan gave us eyes to see the world. Naturally, we have to live in the world. We have to interact with the world. We have to experience the world. That is part of our sense organ for my perception and interaction. So for that, two eyes are there. Two eyes are there. But then it is the eyes only that see outwards. It take me away from myself. I am there, the world is there. Eyes are turned out. I don't look within. I miss out. When I look out, I miss out. What do I miss out on? Not the world. I miss out on myself because I don't get to see myself. To see myself, I have to look inwards. Look inwards. Dhyanam. That is what dhyanam. His third eye. That is the third. That is the jnana chakshu. What is called as. That is the one that has to open. That has to be open inwards, not open outwards. When he opens outwards, then he can destroy the world. That because that the world experience is born of ignorance. Okay, the Atma is within that sustains everything. So when the self, when it fulfilled, has the vision of itself, then that ignorance, self-ignorance is destroyed. So destroying the world is really destruction of self-ignorance, because the world as I perceive it is no longer as it is. My whole perception and relationship of the world changes once a person gains that jnanam of oneness with Parameshwara, oneness with the Lord. So it requires a special kind of darshanam, he says. Even Sri Krishna, Sri Arjuna saw the Vishwarupam of Lord Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, we see this. But then before he saw, we think he just saw like we see things. I want to have darshanam for Bhagavan. And then I say, oh, I will see him like I see everything else. But he didn't see Lord Krishna like that. He didn't see Vishwarupam like that. Before he saw Vishwarupam, see, Krishna told him, so Natu Mam Shakya se Drishtum Anenaiva Swachakshusha, says Divyam Dadami Te Chakshu Pashyame Yoga Maishwaram. He says, you are not going to be able to see, you cannot see me. He says, by your own eyes, it is not possible to see me. Therefore, I have to give you, I'm giving you this Divya Chakshu. Divya Chakshu is divine, the divine vision. Divine vision is the vision of wisdom, the vision of knowledge. With that only you will see what I am truly in terms of my whole form as nothing but the entire Vishwam. That is Vishwarupam. So he had to show, he had to have those eyes in order to recognize what Bhagavan is. And so Lord Shiva is the one whose eyes, those are his eyes, the third eye, the even number. And then unto him and unto goddess who has samaha, eyes like everybody else does. So unto both of them my prostrations and my salutations, namaskaram. Number 5, Mandaramala Kalita Lakayai Kapalamalankita Kandharaya Divyambaraya cha Digambaraya Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya Mandaramala Kalita Lakayai. She adorns her hair. Lot of description of hair adornment. So she adorns her hair with mandara mala. Mandara mala. Mandara pushpam. So mandara is a hibiscus. Yeah, it's a hibiscus flower. And so she is the one whose hair is adorned with this hibiscus flower. It is used in worship, something used in worship. And whereas he wears, so as a decorative ornament, this what is called as kapala mala around his neck. Kapala mala, munda mala, runda mala. These are all different names that are used. So a mala made of skulls, made of skulls. Some of our deities wear that. Lord Shiva wears this mala made of skulls. In his Ghora manifestations, in the fierce manifest, not all forms of Lord. Nataraja doesn't wear Mundamala. So, but all forms are there, not like that. Certain forms which are so very ferocious, fearsome forms are there, like Bhairava, Veerabhadra, those forms. In fact, even goddess wears Parvati in the form of Mahakali, in the form of Chinnamasta. So certain forms are there where they show the deity wearing Mundamala. It represents again the transcendence of death. It also represents conquering these are the heads of asuras. Okay, so asuras and rakshasas basically. So overcoming the negatives. Asuras, rakshasas stand for the negativities in us. The negativities which are the obstacles to spiritual growth. They always show. So asura is a certain kind of attitude. It's asuri buddhi. Everybody has that. So potential in them. Human beings that have it. Sampat. It's called asuri sampat, daivi sampat. There are tendencies, potentials in all human beings. Okay, there's an asura. So these tendencies that become obstacle within us for our spiritual growth. Rakshasas are another kind of a attitude which really causes problems, and will prevent things from happening. One is an obstacle just by virtue of what it is. I have to learn to overcome it. So Rakshasa is much more destructive. So anyway, all these things are pretty powerful. We know that from our own life experience. To overcome them requires something which is more fearsome. To overcome some fierce opponent, you require something more fearsome. So that because this person who makes everybody afraid has to have something who he is afraid of. So Bhagwan becomes more fearsome than the fierce person. If you can be fierce, Bhagwan can manifest more fierce. Okay, that's the idea. Therefore, these fierce forms also, the Lord is not separate from them because these have to be conquered. So Lord, sometimes Devas are presented in that particular form also. They manifest. So here, this is one particular, the fierce forms of him, where in order to overcome things which are not easy to overcome, which are fearsome obstacles. So he wears in those forms this Mundamala. So Divyambarayai cha Digambara. Ambaram. Ambaram means, so Ambaram is sky. Ambaram also refers to the attire, Vastram. So goddess, she wears Divyambaram. She is dressed in attire which is Divyam. Divyam means heavenly. So only the colors, etc. The colors when you wear. That's why when we try to wear vastrams on deities, so we try to you put the best that you can see. So the colors, etc. But then Divyambaras are even colors which we don't experience. Those kind of beautiful colors and all. So she wears Digambaram. What about Lord Shiva? He wears Dik, his ambaram, his attire is just Dik. Dik others, the direction, space. In other words, he doesn't wear anything. At the most he wears some some kind of a covering of a skin, tiger skin, they say Lord Shiva wears. But then because he's an ascetic, you know, so he represents asceticism. And so his ambaram, he also is infinite. Not only that, he's infinite, you know. So in infinite, you can, Vastram is only when things are limited in time and space. Mahadeva is the one who has transcended time and space. So he is infinite in his form. What is he going to wear? If he wears something, the entire space is his attire. So that is Digambara. So the one who wears Divyambaram, the wearer who wears Digambaram, unto both of them my salutations, he says. 7 or 6, yeah. Ambodara Shyamala Kantalayai Tadit Prabha Tamra Jatadharaya Nirishwarayai Nikhileshwaraya Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya. Ambodhara Shyamala. These are the so dark rain bearing clouds, dark clouds, like the ones that bear rain, We see them a lot here. So this is again describing her hair. Okay, her hair. So she has this hair which is dark in color, like even the rain bearing clouds. What is a rain bearing clouds? So it is full of energy. It is full of energy. It rains, the water, the lightning. Water is life giving. It is full of life giving. So energy and brightness, even lightning and so on. So this is the kind of, it represents that, because she is Prakriti. She is in a form of the Shakti that is the creative power in the Jagat. And what about his Jata? He says Tamra Jata. His Jata is color. Color is Tamram, copper. Wears his Jata is of a copper color. Not only that, he says like a prabha, like brilliant light, a brilliant shining light also. But at the same time, it is copper. Copper is interesting. Copper color. So it also is very dynamic. It is copper. This is called uh, among metals. Even in vigrahams, when they make vigrahams and so on, the copper is considered to be, they call it uttama. So which there are certain metals, they say this is better, that is better, in order to make vigrahams. So of which the best they say is the ones made of copper. So there is a story in the Puranas that Lord Vishnu so deputized this our Vishwakarma to make Shivalingams for devas, because they wanted to do worship for Lord Shiva. And so he makes Shivalingams of different types from different materials. So like may make of diamond, of spatikam, of some other metals like that is. And then he made the copper, the one of copper for Surya Narayana, for Adityas, for the sun god, So because perhaps the color also, so that bright copper red color is the color of dawn, you see that mixed in. So like an orange and so on. So anyway, so this copper color is this color hair of energy. You look at the picture of Nataraja there. He has hair spread out like that. And you can imagine when he's performing his dance of destruction, and all the hair spread out like that. He's like Agni. It is like fire. So he has a hair which is like that. And she has a hair which is the hair that represents the creative power. He says. She is Nirishwara. Nirishwarayi. He is Nikhileshwara. Nikhileshwara is the Sarveshwara, the Lord of everything. Lord Shiva, who's the Lord of everything. And she is the one, Nirishwara. It's not that she is not the goddess. It is, she is the one who has no Ishvara above her. That's the idea. So she is the, like God, Bhagavan has no Bhagavan for Bhagavan. So that is that what meant by Nirishwara, the one for whom there is no Ishvara. you know and she is Bhuvaneshwari. She is the one in Devi Suktam. She says, I am the one from whom in fact all the Triputi is born. You can see she is Prakriti. Even Triputi is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. This is Ishvara in the threefold form related to creation. Okay, so creation is manifestation, and then the whole manifestation is because of Prakriti. Without Prakriti, there is nothing manifest. So she says, I am the one. So when I activate, then all the Triputi itself is manifest. So she is not the one who has an Ishvara. She is Nirishwara. He is Sarveshwara. And unto both of them, my salutation. Prapancha srishtyunmukhalasya kayai समस्त संहारक तांडवाय जगज्जनन्यै जगदेक पित्रे नमः शिवाय च नमः शिवाय प्रपंच सृष्टि उन्मुख लास्य कायै. She is the one who creates the whole prapancha. Srishti is the whole creation, made up of all these fivefold elements. And it is because of her that all of these are manifest. And how do they become manifestation of all of this? Is her is her is her dance of creativity, dance of creativity. And for what about him, Lord Shiva? He says for him, samasta samharaka tandava. Both of them are dancing, you know. Lord Shiva and Lord Parvati are dancing together, you know. And this is the dance of Shiva Parvati dance. And in this dance, in Natya Shastram, so Natya Shastram, you all know what it is. So when there's a chapter, in one particular chapter, talks about, chapter 4, talks about all these different karanas and so on. And there it also talks about the origin of dance. And the origin of dance was, it all started when Lord Shiva destroyed this Tarakasura. And when he destroyed him, in that ecstasy, he dances. He dances. And that is a dance of Tandava. Okay. So that is Tandava Nrityam. So this dance that he does, and it is a very dynamic and ferocious dance, the dance of destruction. And it becomes so intense that it starts affecting the whole creation. So at which point Sri Parvati Devi accompanies him in the dance. And when she accompanies him, so she tempers down the whole thing. And that is what is called as lasyam. There are two types of dance. There's a masculine and feminine aspect. Hers is called lasya, and that masculine, dynamic, aggressive form is what is called as tandava. So she calms him down, and then things get calmed down. And then there is a Muni. His name is Tandu Muni. And then he sees all this. And then he also gets inspired to dance. And then anyway, what happens is then later on, because of Lord Shiva telling him, he teaches it to Bharata Muni. And that is how the dance form has come down to us. That's the story in Natya Shastram. So these two forms of dance are there. One is called as Tandava and one is called as Lasya. Lasya is the dance of creation, which comes from Prakriti. And creation is always, there is harmony. It is slow. It's a process. There is beauty in it. You see that. It takes a long time to create, for a tree to grow from a seed to a huge plant, it can take centuries. It takes. Destruction is quick. It can happen in seconds. It is much more intense. So that is what is called. And then they have all different kinds of Tandava Nrityams are there. So here he says, when I look at you, I see that you who are in the form of, who create the whole creation, the Srishti, when it manifests, that whole unfoldment is your lasya. It's your dance form. You know. Whereas when I look at you, O Lord Shiva, your Tandava Nrityam is the one that causes samhara, that destroys the whole world. That is your dance of creation. So both of them are there in this dance of Srishti. Yes, Jagat Jananyai. You are Janani. You are so the one who gives birth is called as Janani. So you are the mother of the whole entire creation. And what about Lord Shiva? He says Jagad Eka Pitre. You are the one Pita. You are the Pita. Pita is the one who protects. So you are the one goddess who gives birth to everyone. You are the one who protects all of us. So unto both of you is my salutation. And they are inseparable. Jagat Jana Pita and so Mata. Jagatav Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau. So there is Vagarthaviva Sampraktau, Vagarthau Pratipattaye. Jagatav Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau. It says, like even a word and its meaning are inseparable from each other. A word is not a word without a meaning. Without a meaning, a word is just a sound. And the meaning, what is the meaning is expressed, is symbolized by a word. So word and meaning always go together. A meaning is what makes a sound into a word. They can never be separated. And that is how is Parvati and Parameshwara. So they are inseparable. That is what is represented by this Ardhanarishwara. And finally, last verse here of the Stotram is Pradiptojvala Pradiptaratnojvala Kundalayai Spuran Mahapannagabhushanaya Shivanvitayai cha Shivanvitaya Namah Shivayai cha Namah Shivaya Pradipta Ratnojvala Kundalayai. Kundalam. Kundalam was missed out. This is another ornament. This is Karnabhushanam. Kundalam is a Divya. All our deities, no, if you look at, they wear some Karnabhushanam. Karnabhushanam is some ornament on the ears. Okay. And what they wear, that is what is called as Kundalam. There are different types of kundalas that they make for the deities. Like this Patra Kundalam, there is Shankapatra Kundalam, there is Ratna Kundalam made of stones. I'm sorry, precious. Made of precious stones. And there is the Sarpa Kundalam. There is our Makara Kundalam. Lord Vishnu wears Makara Kundalam. Okay. Then this Ratna Kundalam. So she, Parvati, he says she wears Ratna Kundalam. And what about Bhagavan, Lord Shiva? He wears Sarpa Kundalam. Sarpa Kundalam. So his kundala, like all the other ornaments he wears, there also he wears the sarpa, the snakes are his ornaments. We've seen that. So how he is the one who conquers time and transcends time, that snakes represent, he says. Shivanvitaye. Shivanvitaye, Shivanvitaya. Shiva. Anvita means the one who is accompanied by, or the one who is connected to. So goddess Parvati, she is connected to Shiva, Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is connected to goddess Shiva. That's why the same word. Okay. So the one who is connected to the Lord Shiva and the one who's connected to goddess Shiva. He says to both of them, this again is my is my salutation. So representing both the beginning and the end. Kundala. Kundalam also in Kundalini. So Kundalini in Shakti, in Shakta tradition, you have this Kundalini, the Kundalini yoga and all that they talk about. So the Kundalinis represent both cause and effect. So there also they have Sarpa, as a coil. They talk about that. But in any case, one of the names for goddess Shakti is Kundalini, okay, where she stands for both cause and effect. So etat pathed ashtakamidam yo bhaktya saman yo bhuvi dirgha jeevi prapnoti saubhagyam anantakalam bhuyat sada tasya samasta siddhihi. So the 8 verses were there for the stotram, and then this is just a like Phalashruti, what is, so it says, Etat Pathed Ashtakam. So the one who bhaktya with devotion, the one who recites this stotram, because it is a prayer. It's not just a poetry to describe something. It is really a prayer to the Lord, the prayer to connect to Bhagavan. He says, Samanyaha Bhavi. He says he becomes Manyaha. He's the one who becomes worshipful or someone who is to be respected. Why? Because bhakti, you become a bhakta. And if you are a devotee of the Lord, then it's not, you don't do this to be respected. A devotee is respected because a devotee inspires me to devotion. That's what Hanumanji, when I look at the devotees that we have looked at in our tradition, and what do? They have the capacity, even though that's not their goal, but their devotion is the one that inspires devotion in us. So that is a natural thing. It's a natural phenomenon. It helps me get close to Bhagavan by looking at people who are close to Bhagavan. So he says, so such a person becomes manyaha. He's noticed by others and inspires other people. Prapnoti saubhagyam ananta kalam. He says he gains, huh? Dirgha Jeevi, lives long. Okay, whatever life he lives, he lives. He lives a long life as a bhakta. Remember. So to live a life of a bhakta is very fulfilling. So it is very fulfilling, happy life. And so he has no issues with living that life. And it is a form of blessing. So he enjoys that state of being a devotee for a long time. Hanumanji, when it was Sri Rama's time to leave the earth, this manifestation, then everybody wants to go with him. So everybody wanted to go with him. And then Hanumanji also, he asked, he said, okay, he took them with him. Then Hanumanji also, he said, you want to come along with me? He said, no. He didn't want to go. He said, he didn't want to go because if I come to heaven, then I will not experience anymore this what I'm experiencing here by being your devotee. So he said, let me just be here, remaining for a long time, because when I'm here, I never feel myself away from you, separate from you. I don't have to be with you in order to be with you. So that's why he is one of the Chiranjeevis. He stayed behind. Therefore, whenever we say, so wherever this any bhajans, etc. are going on, wherever Rama Nama is being said, so he always manifests there because that is how he lives. So he says, Sada, Dirga Jivanam is there to live, enjoy that life of a bhakta. Prapnoti Saubhagyam Anantakalam. So the one always, Saubhagyam, he'll always, no harm falls to this kind of a person, to the bhaktya. And so whatever you gain That may you gain all the things that have to be gained by this, by being close to the Lord. So that is the prayer, the phalam, and also it is something that is, as the one who writes, he wishes for the person who recites these prayers like a blessing. So let's just recite. I just recite it one time through the whole thing. Om Champeya Gaurardha Sharirakaye Karpura Gaurardha Sharirakaye Dhammillakaye cha Jatadharaya Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya Kasturika Kumkuma Charchitaye Chitarajah Punja Vicharchitaya Kritasmarayai Vikritasmaraya Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya Jhalat Kwanat Kankana Nupurayai Padabjarajat Bhani Nupuraya Hemangadayai Bhujagangadaya Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya विशालनीलोत्पललोचनायै विकासितपङ्केरुहलोचनाय समेक्षणायै विषमेक्षणाय नमः शिवायै च नमः शिवाय मन्दारमालाकलितालकायै कपालमालाङ्कितकन्धराय दिव्याम्बरायै च दिगम्बराय नमः शिवायै च नमः शिवाय अम्भोदरश्यामलकन्तलायै तडित्प्रभाताम्रजटाधराय निरीश्वरायै निखिलेश्वराय नमः शिवायै च नमः शिवाय प्रपञ्चसृष्ट्युन्मुखलास्यकायै समस्तसंहारकताण्डवाय जगज्जनन्यै जगदेकपित्रे नमः शिवायै च नमः शिवाय प्रदीप्तरत्नोज्ज्वलकुण्डलायै स्फुरन्महापन्नगभूषणाय शिवान्वितायै च शिवान्विताय नमः शिवायै च नमः शिवाय एतत् पठेदष्टकमिदं यो भक्त्या समान्यो भुवि दीर्घजीवी प्राप्नोति सौभाग्यमनन्तकालम् भूयात् सदा तस्य समस्तसिद्धिः भूयात् सदा तस्य समस्तसिद्धिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ